Hello, welcome to Skull RPG Podcast. My name's Dwight Skull.
My name's Jacob Skull.
And today we're going to teach you how to tell your story. So there's an interesting thing. I was listening. I'm a big fan of like Cthulhu stuff. And one of the things I was listening to was somebody was complaining, no one ever tells the story after Cthulhu awakes. They always tell the story of trying to keep Cthulhu asleep.
Yes.
And when asked about it, I can't remember which writer it was. It wasn't Lovecraft, because let's just be honest, Lovecraft isn't that great of a writer. I'm going to get a hate mail for this too. I like Lovecraft. Shut up. Anyway, but he's an okay writer, okay?
Yes.
And but there have been writers after him that have done really good jobs in that entire genre, like Michael Shea and some others. And when asked about it, I think it was Michael Shea, and he actually said, "I'm not that good of a writer.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough to tell that story." And so sometimes you can have an idea so good, and then you have to realize, I'm not good enough to tell that story.
Exactly.
And it's not like you won't ever be good enough to tell a story, or maybe you'll never be good enough to tell a story, I don't know. But you have to realize and go, I can't tell that story today, so I can't tell Game of Thrones.
Yes.
In a game. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't write Game of Thrones. I'm not Martin. I'm just not. And so instead, I will take Game of Thrones down to maybe 3 different kingdoms, not 7 plus 1 across the sea.
Yes.
Maybe they only have 2 or 3 bannermen that I only care about, and so now I've shrunken the world from 3,000 NPCs I have to care about to like 12.
Exactly.
And some nameless folks, right? Some to then mix genres. Some red shirts I can throw in just for the point of dying.
Yeah.
But I don't have to do character background on more than 12 people, and I can handle 12 people, not all at once.
Yeah. But at the same time, you can, if your players have watched Game of Thrones,
yes,
you can pull those concepts in, and they'll instantly resonate with the players.
So that does make life easier, because then you can pull in like, oh, here's a woman in a red dress. She does magic, and everyone goes, oh, the red woman is like pretty much and a little different.
Yeah, but 90% of your work on that NPC is already done for you, because the players have this concept of who this is.
Right, which makes your life a lot easier too, because then you're not having to, let's just be honest, creating a memorable NPC is hard if you try to do it without any help from media, any outside people whatsoever. It's not that hard, though, if you are taking existing characters, existing concepts, and plugging them in, and letting your players immediately go, oh, so this is a Jon Snow type of character.
Exactly.
Yes, this is a Jon Snow type of character. And no, I'm not promising that he's going to resurrect or not. I'm not doing that part of it. But he is an orphan, sort of. He does have this really colorful backstory. I probably wouldn't even a Jon Snow type of character. I probably wouldn't even try to do the weird parental thing, because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
It's not foreshadowing, it's conclusion.
Exactly. But they still have his personality in their minds, and
right.
They will react to him. And you've built in a personality for him that you don't have to then role play out,
right,
to that great extent, because the players do that for you.
Yes.
The players do the work for you in creating these characters and creating the world in this concept.
So what I would do then, if I'm going to base my characters on very well-known characters, what I like to do when we're doing like the lexicon at the very beginning, I think lexicon was like the 2nd or 3rd podcast on here, so go back and find it. Go to skullrpg.com/resources. You'll see the word lexicon at the top. You can read all about lexicon. It's a fantastic tool. But when you're doing the lexicon game, before you do your real game, you could literally just state, I'm going to be pulling NPC archetypes from these worlds.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean if you see, Mal from Firefly join in, that he has all the baggage that Mal has.
Yes.
It doesn't mean if I pull Jon Snow that he's going to be a resurrecting character and he's going to die and he has all this parental hitch. No. I need you to think about somebody who's a loner, who's intelligent, who keeps to himself, and when the time is right, he's brave, he'll do what's right, he'll stand up.
Exactly.
But he doesn't have a direwolf.
No.
He doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, but again, by pulling these concepts into your game, the work is done for you. Yeah. And especially when the players will say, oh, this reminds me of this one. And even if it's not someone you were thinking about at the time, you know who that person is.
Hopefully.
You know who Jon Snow is. You've watched Game of Thrones.
Right.
Suddenly, you're like, okay, I know how I need to act, how I need to role play. I need to act like Jon Snow would.
Yeah, I'm okay with this guy. Or if you're not okay with that person being Jon Snow because of your storyline, you may need to go, okay, hold up, let's just stop for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
This person's, let me just retry this, because I think I said brown hair, brown eyes, you jump to Jon Snow, but that's not a Jon Snow character. That's just a dude with brown hair, brown eyes.
Yeah. And, and don't be afraid to stop the game to clarify points.
Absolutely, because otherwise you live with them.
I mean, I go with this a lot, all the time in my game. I do recaps in the middle of my game all the time, where my players look at me and say, we don't know what to do. And so what I like to do at that point is I just go back through and I restate.
Here's what you know.
Here's what you know. Exactly. I restate information. This happened. You found out this piece. You found out this piece.
So what do you want to do?
And then a lot of times they're like, oh, I forgot about this piece of information.
Right. Because to be fair, your character just found out about it, let's say 2 days ago in game time, but you haven't played because of illness or vacations or holidays or pandemics. And you haven't seen each other in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 months. And of course you've forgotten it because life has happened.
Yeah.
But your character, and as the game master, your role is to remember at least the high points, no matter how improv-y you are.
Exactly.
The high points are you discovered this piece of information, and then you thought that about these two things.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about it yet, but you do know that, like, hey, you saw this weird conversation between these two characters, and these guys shouldn't be talking. So, what do you want to do now?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go investigate those two characters. Cool. How? I want to basically tail them. I want to stalk them. I want to whatever. Good. Okay. Well, we'll do surveillance roles then. Well, can you follow them to where they're going?
Exactly.
Oh, that's weird. They walk into this weird bar. You know they shouldn't be here either. What are you doing?
Yep.
And now the game's rolling again.
And a lot of times, the players will fixate on a piece of information that
it's meaningless.
And by the way I do it, suddenly that it was meaningless, but suddenly I build the entire rest of the session around that piece of information because it's important to them, and so it must be important to the game.
And that's another thing. We talked about this in another episode, was kind of figuring out what your players are fixated on and giving them the opportunity to just be fixated on it.
Exactly.
And so one of the things we brought up was the game session that we're all involved in right now.
The tavern.
Yes.
Just adding a handful of dialogue of, oh, that door's no longer wood, it's this intricate copper door.
So now you have something for the tavern. Or, oh, look, there's a dice game on the table after you cleared it out full of people. Do you want to take it? Because you could use it in your tavern,
Yeah.
And because, honestly, you're just throwing characters' bones that don't break your game.
Yes.
I mean, who cares if there's 14 copper doors now in a dungeon because they want to haul them all out? I mean, in fact, I'd make a fun little thing where I'd be like, oh, as you're hauling out the copper doors, so-and-so's jumping you and you're getting attacked from behind now because you spent 6 hours, you spent like 4 spells getting the copper doors off of the stupid hinges. So now you're down on spells and you're wasting time and you weren't quiet about it. I mean, my God, 2 copper doors hit the stone floor.
Exactly.
You can't tell me that didn't make any noise. I mean,
exactly.
So what happens? Stuff happens now.
Yeah.
But you can take this improv and go, oh, my players are fixated. Cool. Now they're interested. I'd rather have interested players on something that's meaningless than uninterested players on stuff that is meaningful.
Exactly. It's all about learning to engage your players and finding what works best to engage them, and that changes session by session sometimes.
Yep, and on that note, I'll thank you, Matt, for that insight.
Hey, thanks for listening.
And for more resources, please go to skullrpg.com.
Hey, thanks for